One face centered. Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I am here to do the second half of my March wrap-up. It's probably going to be pretty short because I mostly finished a bunch of series, or I'm in the middle of some series, so I can't really talk about much of the books, but I'll do my best. So, the first one I read is A Fatal Grace by Louise Penny. I gave this one 5 stars. I am going through the Three Pines series. I am trying really hard not to read exclusively that because I've been flying through these and enjoying them a lot, but that would be a very boring channel if all I said was, I read a bunch of Louise Penny and I can't talk much about it because it's a series. So, but, I can kind of talk about these a little bit just because, I mean, there's a little bit of continuity where you probably should read all of them, but, you know, each one is about a different, like, character that you never met, like, you know, the murder case, so you could kind of read them as standalones, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't, but that's just me. But, this one is basically about a woman who basically gets electrocuted to death during a tournament in front of, like, a bunch of people, and it's very hard to figure out how she died because everybody swears they didn't see anything. And so that's kind of the draw of the Louise Penny books, is that all these people die in weird ways, and like it's a ride figuring out, first of all, who did it and how did they do it. And this woman has a wild imagination. But yeah, and in this particular case, this woman, Cece, had haters. So, like, it could have been any number of people who killed her and who would have had reason to. So, like, you're on your toes the entire way. And I don't know, it's not even just the murder mysteries for me. Like, I just love the town. Clara and Peter and, like, all the townspeople, they're just very nice. And I like all the inspectors. Armand Gamache is like your main guy, and yeah, but they're all just really nice people. Like, I like the sense of community in these books. So, but yeah, this one I gave 5 stars because I really did not see anything coming. So yeah. The next 3 are The Last Few in the Land of Stories series by Chris Colfer. I read the description of the first one in my last wrap-up, so yeah, I won't talk about it here, but I read Beyond the Kingdoms. I gave it 4 stars. An Author's Odyssey, I gave 3 stars, and Worlds Collide, I gave 4 stars to. Then I started reading the Caroline American Girls books, and so I've been wanting to read these for a long time, but I just didn't, because I kind of knew I would have to scan them and convert them to Braille because they're not available in Braille and they're not available on audio. I listened to this podcast. It's called Dolls of Our Lives. It's the hosts are these 2 historians, and it's really fun because you kind of get to hear more about the historical time period that these books take place in. And they got to some books that I wasn't able to find on audio or Braille, and Caroline was one of the girls that I couldn't find. So I finally got them from the public library, and I'm scanning them, which is a lot of hard work and muscle power, believe it or not, because you have to hold the book down to get a good scan. I mean, I guess you don't have to. I just haven't figured out another way to get it perfect. Anyway, first one is Meet Caroline by Kathleen Ernst. I give this one 4 stars. I'll read the description just so you kind of get an idea where Caroline comes from. Carolyn Abbott is doing what she loves most, sailing on Lake Ontario with Papa, when her world turns upside down. A British officer boards their sloop, announces that Britain and America are at war, and takes her father prisoner. As Papa is led away, Carolyn promises him that she will stay strong and steady until he returns. So, yeah, this book takes place in the War of 1812, the series. And it's a time period I don't know that much about, so it's interesting to learn about it. And yeah, I actually think that these books are way better than any of the American Girl books I read as a kid. Like, they're just written better and they're super compelling. Like, you're straight into the action in all of these books. It's wild. Like, right from the beginning, you start off on this boat ride and then all of a sudden, bye-bye, daddy. So you're like in war almost immediately. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this book, even though I had to scan it page by page to be able to read it. So, yeah, thank God these are short. Next is Carolyn's Secret Message, 4 stars. Basically, Carolyn and her mom are trying to see her dad where he's imprisoned. Not a spoiler since it's in the first book. And, Carolyn's secret message, she has to basically figure out a way to help him escape. So, yeah. Then we have a surprise for Carolyn. I give this one 3 stars. This one is not very war heavy. It's just Christmas, and Carolyn wants her friend Rhonda to skate with her, and Rhonda's too busy being girly. I was on Carolyn's side. I just don't have much appreciation for girly girls, so I very much sympathize with Carolyn. And I also don't have a lot of sympathy for bossy older siblings or older cousins, and her cousin was bossy, and I fully supported Carolyn not listening to her, even when it got her into trouble. And yes, that is my immaturity showing, so don't let your children watch this video, because I'm a terrible example. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and skate on some thin ice and drown, even though your cousin told you not to do it. And no, I'm not saying she drowned. I'm just saying she put herself in some danger, to spitefully not listen to her cousin. And I was all for it. So I gave this book 3 stars because her cousin was annoying and bossy. Anyway, now we'll leave these books. Next is The Cruelest Month by Louise Penny. I gave this one 4 stars. This is another weird death. It's the 3rd book. Basically, the town does this, seance, they're calling the dead. They're trying to rid this house of badness. They're just being silly and dumb, and someone dies, and the theory is that she was frightened to death. So, on the surface, it looks like she had a heart attack, but there was more to it. And, yeah, you're kind of taking on the same ride. You're wondering why she died, how she died, who did it, all of that. And so it was a good book. I kind of gave it down a star just because seances creep me out. So, yeah. Then I read Refugee by Alan Gratz. I gave this one 5 stars. So this book is considered middle grade, but I think I don't know. I guess it really depends on what you let your kids read, and I am not one to advocate censoring books. I generally am an advocate for let your kids read what they want to read if they're going to read. Just be happy they're reading something. But I don't know. I'll read the description for this one. 3 different kids. One mission in common. Escape. Yosef is a Jewish boy in 1930s Nazi Germany. With the threat of concentration camps looming, he and his family board a ship bound for the other side of the world. Isabel is a Cuban girl in 1994. With riots and unrest plaguing her country, she and her family set out on a raft, hoping to find safety and freedom in America. Mahmoud is a Syrian boy in 2015, with his homeland torn apart by violence and destruction. He and his family begin a long trek toward Europe. All 3 young people will go on harrowing journeys in search of refuge. All will face unimaginable dangers, from drownings to bombings to betrayals. But for each of them, there is always the hope of tomorrow. And although Yosef, Isabel, and Mahmoud are separated by continents and decades, surprising connections will tie their stories together in the end. Yeah, like I said, I gave this book 5 stars, and it was brilliant. I am not saying I did not enjoy this book, but if you're going to have your kids read it, you need to be with them when they're reading this book, because some parts are scary. There are some violent deaths in this book, descriptive deaths in this book. There's trigger warnings galore, PTSD, graphic depictions of labor, like everything bad that can happen to a family fleeing happens to these 3 kids and their families. But yeah, at the same time, like, there's hope, and there's parts that made me cry for some of the things that happened to them, and not everybody's story ends well. So, I mean, do with that what you will. I really enjoyed the story, and I like the way that all the stories are kind of tied together. I'm not saying these kids have, like, this meetup or anything like that, but their stories tie together at one point or another, and you'll kind of see how. And how the past kind of helps certain characters make certain decisions in other time periods, if that makes sense. Like, I really loved this book. Just, if you're, I know it says middle grade, but read it with your kids, because they're going to have questions, and it can be emotional. But I definitely do recommend reading it as an adult, for sure. So yeah, then I needed a palate cleanser, so I started a new series, the Pages & Co. series. The first one is Tilly and the Book Wanderers. I gave this one 4 stars. Oh, the author is Anna James. Okay. 11-year-old Tilly has lived above her grandparents' bookshop ever since her mother disappeared shortly after she was born. Like the rest of her family, Tilly loves nothing more than to escape into the pages of her favorite stories. One day, Tilly realizes that classic children's characters are appearing in the shop through the magic of book wandering, crossing over from the pages into real life. With the help of Anne of Green Gables and Alice in Wonderland, Tilly is determined to solve the mystery of what happened to her mother all those years ago. So she bravely steps into the unknown, unsure of what adventure lies ahead and what dangers she may face. So yeah, I mean, this is like every kid's dream, like your book characters, you being able to talk to them, being able to kind of go into the books. But it's more than that. I mean, you have like the disappearance of Tilly's mother. Basically, in the real world, she supposedly ditched her kid and disappeared. Police never found her. So there's that mystery too. I mean, it was just a nice like kids book, and I'm going to enjoy the series as I keep reading it. I'm not a huge fantasy reader, even though it looks like I am, but I do like fairy tales and like kind of adaptations to them, so that's kind of where my fantasy reading goes. But I think I'm going to enjoy this. I like Tilly and her grandparents, and just her friend Oscar comes into this at some point. So, yeah. I enjoyed the book, and there is a twist that I was genuinely shocked by. Oh, good, the phone's ringing. And it's probably nobody, and it's going to ruin my video.
Call from unavailable.
Yep. Go away. Anyway,
Call from unavailable.
can't do anything about it. I can't edit a video, so excuse the phone ringing. But yeah, darn it, I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. There's a twist at the end of this book.
Your home is eligible for up to $10,000 to use for clean energy upgrades for exterior paint, new windows, HVAC.
Go away. Yeah, there is a twist in this book. And I was like, how did this author come up with such a twist? And I'm not going to say what it is, because it's way more fun to find out for yourself. But really read this book, even if you don't finish the series. I want to finish the series, but I'm not like in a hurry to do it next month. I can wait a few months. It's not, they didn't leave you on a cliffhanger or anything. So, yeah, you can kind of slowly go through it. Maybe as you get into later books, they'll leave you on a cliffhanger, but yeah, I can wait to keep on reading. But I enjoyed this book. Anyway, last book before the phone rings again. A Rule Against Murder by Louise Penny. I gave this one 4 stars. So yeah, I read 3 Louise Penny books in a month. I will try to... No, I won't. I was going to say I will try to not read as many next month. I probably won't. I already bought the next 2. But this one, basically, Armand Gamache and his wife are celebrating their anniversary. And they go to this, like, inn. And, Clara and Peter, this couple from the village of 3 Pines, they're having like their family reunion there too. So Peter's sister basically dies from a statue falling on top of her. But like the mystery is, how did that happen? Because that statue is very heavy and it's practically impossible for it to fall. Like nobody can figure out how it happened, let alone who did it. And Peter's family is so screwed up, it's not even funny. Like, yeah, I almost want Clara to get a divorce because, just to get rid of this family, because I know people say, like, toxic family a lot, but no. These people are, like, toxic to the 30th power. They are mental. So, yeah. I mean, you need to read it to kind of know what I mean. But, yeah, it's weird. One of the characters named their kid Bean just to spite her mother and enrage her mother by giving her child, like, this, outrageous name. And when her mom doesn't get a reaction, she's considering renaming her, like, changing her name to something way worse, just to shock. Like, she wants a reaction so bad. She's willing to give her kid a name like, I can't think of what the name she wanted to give her was, but let's just say it was Ovaries. It was something that weird. Syphilis. That's what it was. Syphilis. She wanted to that is how much attention this woman requires from her mother. Like, that's how much she wants to anger her mother. Like, this is what I mean by toxic. They're crazy people. Clara, run away from these lunatics, please. Divorce Peter and send him on his way to live with his weird family. Anyway, that is what I read in the second half of the month. Sorry for the phone ringing and for my nasally voice. I have allergies. I will hopefully have a better reading month this month. I had a pretty good reading month last month, but there was a lot of series, so I'm going to try to do books where I can actually talk about them. Anyway, that's all I got. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.
Speech on. Stop recording video.